6:42 at KPEL, Acadiana's Morning News. I'm Rob Kirkpatrick, sliding in for Bernie, here with Brandon, and the room's all of a sudden a little bit full. Man who could be our governor tomorrow, Senator David Vitter. Welcome to the show.
Hey, great to be with y'all. Thanks for the invite. Great to be in Lafayette area.
What is this week like for you? Because for us,
it's a whirlwind.
It's a hamster wheel.
I'll tell you what it feels like I'm lapping the state about 3 times a day.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm not quite doing that, but it's pretty close. But we're getting all around. And the great news is getting a great response. We have all the momentum on our side. I see and feel, and then we're measuring major gains each day of the last 7 days. We're in a great position, and we're going to win. So it feels great.
So, but with your lap around the state, we won't tell anyone, but this is your favorite part of the state, right?
Absolutely. No doubt about it. My favorite radio station in the state.
Oh, you know what? I figured that as well. Right, Brandon?
Now, given you're being compared to the media, that's a low bar to beat. But y'all beat it by a lot.
We'll take it. So this week, obviously, the big issue is Syria. And we've seen it get creep into the ads. It's just what people are talking about on the street.
Right.
Tell our listeners sort of your view from 30,000 feet
Sure.
about what we should do in our state and your opinion of how we could protect our country.
Absolutely. Well, I've said from the very beginning of this issue, when President Obama brought this up a couple of months ago, that it was a bad idea because we don't have adequate vetting, protection, security, and that has to come first. I think that's a very reasonable approach to take. Then after the Paris bombings, I also said, look, this is not going to happen in Louisiana. We're going to put a stop to it. And I have a consistent record of standing up, including against President Obama for that stuff. John Bel Edwards is on the other end of the spectrum. He's been all over the map, has made all sorts of statements. I counted 4 different positions in 2 days at one point, including saying he wants to be a full partner with President Obama. He wants to assist and accommodate the refugees. In our televised debate Monday night, he said he wanted to have a conversation with the president about this. He said, I don't want a conversation. I'm going to end it in Louisiana. I'm also fighting to end it federally with federal legislation. I've introduced that in the Senate. I'm very happy that the Republican House passed very similar legislation just yesterday.
So this part of the state in general, the oil industry, and gas industry, is really the lifeblood of many families here.
Sure.
Probably the complaint many people would have would be over the last administration here in the state. How maybe it's the economy, maybe it's policies in place.
Yeah.
What would you do to sort of make that industry as robust as
Sure.
it once was?
Well, of course, the big issue is price, and none of us have a magic wand just to make the price of oil go up to a more sustainable level. But we sure as heck can do some things here to be ready for that and to encourage the industry and expand jobs. First, let me go back to what I have done. One of the biggest hits in the industry we faced a few years ago was the Obama moratorium after the BP disaster. Completely unnecessary, shutting down drilling in the Gulf. We lost thousands of jobs for an extended period of time because of it. I fought that tooth and nail every step of the way, used every power, every tool at my disposal, including blocking nominees in the Senate until he lifted the moratorium. In contrast, John Bel Edwards did none of that. The only thing he did after the fact, after the moratorium, is actively support President Obama for another term. He even went to the Democratic Convention as a delegate, personally endorsed him on national television. On other key issues for the industry, one big burden it faces is really burdensome lawsuits here in Louisiana. We have a horrible litigation environment. There are a lot of lawsuits, so-called legacy lawsuits, that have been driving energy jobs out to Texas, to Oklahoma, to Mississippi, and elsewhere. I have a plan to combat those onerous lawsuits. I have a history of working in that direction. That's why I'm endorsed by all the leading oil and gas groups like LOGA, Louisiana Oil and Gas Industry Association. John Bel Edwards, again, is on the other side. He is a trial lawyer. He's with the trial lawyer. He fully supports those burdensome legacy lawsuits and other suits. I'm going to streamline our bureaucracy in Baton Rouge. We can do a far better job of having one-stop shopping and streamlined permitting at DNR and DEQ. We're going to revisit our tax code so that we update it and have real and strong incentives in place to maximize that activity. So I get the importance of oil and gas. I grew up in an oil and gas family. My dad worked his whole career at Chevron. So I get that, and I'm certainly going to work on that as a key part of our economic growth.
So here in the Acadiana area, obviously we have UL, we have several other LSUE up in Eunice. Education in general, Louisiana finds itself on the bottom of every good list and at the top of every bad list. What's your vision for what education should be in the state? Could we compete with a state like Texas where people move for the schools?
Yeah, we have to. First, in higher ed, the first thing we need to do is stop death by 1,000 cuts. Stop cut after cut after cut to higher ed. And I'm going to do that starting immediately next year in a special legislative session focused on stabilizing the budget. The biggest budget reform I'm going to push through is undedicating most of these other areas of the budget that are locked down, that are off limits now. That means we can't get into those areas to properly economize, and that's the single biggest reason the cuts have fallen disproportionately on higher ed. Higher ed is one of the few areas left. So we need to fix that and equalize that, and then we need to roll up our sleeves and economize in those areas where we can, and we certainly can. To hear some people in Baton Rouge, like John Bell Edwards, talk, there's nothing to be done on the spending or the budget side. That is ridiculous. There's plenty to be done. I'll just give you one quick example. In Louisiana, we have 10,800 state vehicles. Costs the state taxpayer $232 million.
Wow.
Thousands of those are unnecessary. Not all, obviously. Law enforcement, completely necessary. But thousands of those are unnecessary. We can save money there. We have billions of dollars of outside consulting contracts. Some of those either fall into the category of being for things we don't need and can't afford. Others fall into the category of these consulting firms doing work that we actually have state employees to do. So they're outsourcing work, but we still have the state employees and that cost. We can absolutely economize there. And then we also need to go to tax reform, broaden our tax base, get rid of certain credits and exemptions and deductions that just aren't serving the taxpayer.
Senator David Vitter with us this morning talking about the election here on Acadiana's Morning News. Just a couple more questions.
Sure.
For someone who says, or feels, I know David Vitter, he's been a senator here, I know everything about him, or for the people who may just have misconceptions, what is sort of the, overall, this is me, David Vitter, here are my policies, here are the biggest things I stand for?
Well, I mean, I hope people do feel that way in a positive way. I've fought for Louisiana, stood up for our citizens over and over again in the Senate, particularly against Barack Obama these last long 7 years. I've consistently stood up for our conservative principles and fought for our best interest over and over and over. That's my proven record, and I think it proves I'm a strong Louisiana conservative. That's a strong contrast, a big contrast, with John Bell Edwards, who's a consistent, proven liberal. He has a record, too. Now, he wasn't nearly as well known at the beginning of this campaign, but it's become known, and people are understanding his record. His record is against choice in education, against charter schools, against voucher scholarships, against those things that empower students and parents and teachers and site-based leaders. We can't go back in that direction. We need to keep fighting for excellence in education to improve education. Right here in Lafayette, we have new charters coming online. John Bell Edwards authored the bill just last session that would have barred those, that would have stopped those new choices, those new charter schools from coming online. He is consistently voting against job creators. That's why he's earned very, very low ratings from all of the leading economic development groups like LABI and National Federation of Independent Business. I've been rated 95%, 98%. He's been rated 25%, 27%. His lifetime LABI rating is lower than that of Mary Landrieu, Mitch Landrieu, Bill Jefferson. So this myth he's trying to spread that he's somehow a conservative or even a moderate just doesn't stand up to those and other facts. And then on important issues like life, on the Second Amendment, I'm the only candidate with the endorsement of national right to life. I have that 1,000% lifetime record, and I've been a leader fighting for important measures. I'm the only candidate who has an A+ from the NRA, endorsed by Gun Owners of America. So those are important issues for folks in Acadiana as well.
So if tomorrow night you'll still obviously be senator, but then if you are governor-elect David Vitter, tell me what's your first call that you make after you get the news?
Well, I'm going to hug my family. We're going to celebrate.
It's over. You can admit it. It's over. Yeah, it's over, guys.
We can be with friends and supporters. That's going to be great. The first thing I'm going to do Sunday morning is contact Governor Jindal and do what I laid out yesterday. We have a budget crisis. That word isn't too strong. And so I'm going to ask him to appoint on my behalf a new commissioner of administration, Bill Fenstermaker from here in Lafayette, great businessman, very accomplished, head of the board of Iberia Bank, helped start Blueprint Louisiana, on the board of the hospital here, really well-grounded and experienced and very accomplished in business. I need that person on the inside immediately to start getting a handle of all of the budget numbers from the inside and guide us in that regard. And I'm going to ask Governor Jindal to appoint that person immediately to help with that transition as Commissioner of Administration. This has precedent. That's exactly what happened in 1987 in the transition from Governor Edwards to Governor Romer. There was a fiscal crisis then. There's one now. We need that extra time to get our hands around things, stabilize the ship, and prepare for that first special session.
Senator, we appreciate your time this morning.
Thanks.
Best of luck to you tomorrow. I'm sure it's the end of a really long road and lots of laps around the state. We appreciate you making some time for us this morning.